that's what this is all about, right? Is just sharing ideas and getting inspired. And we're just so excited to see everybody this evening. Welcome. I don't know about you, but it feels like May, the end of May. You know, I don't know why I thought it was going to be any different, but I know we're ramping up with student placement and trying to get things delivered, and our end of the year report, we're trying to navigate what that's going to look like. And so I know it's been busy, but today we're super excited to be talking about a topic that I know I personally need some professional development on. And we're so excited to share with you today. For those of you who are returners, can you raise your hand? If you've been here before, yay, all right, great. And how about any newcomers? All right, good. Well, we're happy that you're with us.
I'm a newcomer, but I'm on, my screen is off because I'm actually driving, but I'm excited to hear about this topic as well. I'm Marie, I'm in the Reynolds District.
Hi, glad you're joining us, and good job being safe while you're driving. Really good.
Hi, this is Ruth Tucker, and it's also my very first time.
Oh, awesome. So glad you're with us this evening. So my name's Kate Barker, and I am the proud principal at Cherry Park Elementary in the David Douglas School District. And I also serve as the OESPA president, which is the elementary division of COSA.
And hello, I am Rachel George. I am the principal at Sandy Grade School. I am the past president for OESPA, and I'm also the state rep for NAESP, our national organization. So I represent all you guys back at that national level. And I'm the one that keeps hitting forward on the slide without meaning to, as I'm trying to get to my chat box.
You're just excited. You're just
I really am. And so this is a topic that I am really excited about, but we always start with our norms first, and you guys are just fantastic with this. While we're talking, and it's going to be an engaging conversation. So when you're not talking, make sure you mute yourself. And then unmute when you'd like to share. Definitely utilize the chat box. You're going to get a really good opportunity for that today. And notice, this is a big deal. We took off the fourth bullet, which was give ourselves grace, because we figured that we've been working in the Zoom land for about 2 months, that I think we got it kind of mastered. So that's really, really exciting. So shifting gears to my friend Kate.
Yeah, so we are always interested to see who has joined us for the evening. So if you wouldn't mind writing your name, your school, your district, and then the question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how open are you to trying something new with technology to connect with your families? So if everybody could just take a moment and type a little something in the text box.
Awesome. I see a 9. Welcome, Carol. Hey, a 5. That's good. 9. Hey, Kimberly. Brad, I don't know if you remember, but you met Kimberly back in Spokane last year at NAESP. We went to your session on Epic Book Talks. So you have some fans in the audience.
Hey, Kimberly. Thanks for coming back.
Awesome. Carol's an 8. Kurt's a 7. Awesome. And you know, it's awesome, even more awesome, that when we initially wrote this question, Brad had some great feedback for us. He's like, hey, how about we reframe this so it's a little bit more growth mindset? And we were like, oh, good point. So we are always learning and always trying to improve, which looks like you guys are ready to do as well. So
hey, Rachel, I was really quick on the scale thing. I was actually reflecting on that. I think overall during the school year when things are humming along, I'm probably around a 9 there, but during the pandemic, there are some days, like if I'm zoomed out, which is almost every day, it's like, please don't teach me something new because I just am looking to gain my sanity. Like that would be the new thing that I would want to earn. But other days, it ebbs and flows. So.
I like it. You know, it's funny because I'm the flip-flop. During the day, like in the building and brick and mortar setting, I feel slammed. And I didn't have the time to really drill down on this skill. And then stay-at-home orders gave me a little bit more wiggle room.
Nice.
So I was really excited to jump in.
That's true. And I just wanted to make sure, Brad, that you saw Kimberly's chat that just said that she purchased all of the books that you recommended for book talks. and that she's in the process of reading them to families each night at 7. So way to go,
That's
using
awesome.
resource from Brad, Kimberly. Thanks for sharing. So our purpose of our time together each week is just an opportunity, an informal time to connect, to support and collaborate, to inspire each other and challenge one another, as well as learn. And today we are really focused on that innovation piece.
So it's interesting. During probably the first week or two after the shutdown. So we shut down, Brad, March 13th. That was our last day with kids. And it was the week before our spring break. And probably coming out of our spring break time, you posted this fantastic video on your Facebook page where you were interacting with your kid and your dog, and you were speaking to families and to kids. And it was so authentic and so real. And you're giving them updates about like how you got to take your dog to school and how you got to do all these really awesome things as you guys were shifting into distance learning. And that relationship aspect really, really caught my attention as I was trying to figure out as a principal, like, how do I connect with my families? What can I do? I'm really secluded. I can't see them anymore. And it really, really shifted my brain to innovation and to relationships. And you came to mind and you had that perfect video example. So I am just so excited to have you on today. If you're not familiar with Brad and his work, he has written 2 fantastic books, Reclaiming Your Calling, which is his most recent one, and then also a staple that you should have on your bookshelf is Renegade Leadership. And in case you're maybe more of a podcaster, he's also into podcasting as well. So he does some great work with Ben on School Leadership Unearthed. So check that out. But he literally is like a video wizard guru, but he can pare it down to any level, which I really appreciate, because I was really nervous to jump in with videos and just really, really timid in a lot of ways to even just dip my toes in. And he's been a driving force of inspiration to really jump in and be okay with making mistakes. So I hope that you'll walk away with some of that excitement and some tools in your toolbox for that as well. So let's welcome Brad to Oregon virtually.
Hey, thanks, Rachel.
We're excited.
I love the vibe from the beginning of the conversation, kind of before we even started, just asking for help, and it just feels like family. So it seems like you all have a good thing going in Oregon. It's a pleasure just to be a tiny part of it for tonight. The dog video that you're referring to, we've done a couple dog videos, so I hope I'm thinking of the right one. But what I will say, interestingly enough, for anyone who is like me, nervous to do videos sometimes, the feedback from families on the video wasn't necessarily, man, that was amazing content, thanks so much for keeping us informed. The part families gave us a lot of the feedback on what were the outtakes that we shared, or the couple times like my kids walked by in the background, the imperfections is what I'm trying to say. So the reason that I start off by saying that is principals are a big deal. We don't think we're a big deal, but to families and to kids, we're a big deal. And when we show a human side, and when our videos aren't perfect, believe it or not, there's something there that actually creates a connection. So as we enter into this time together, the teeny little bit of wisdom that I might try to give you is just to release the notion that you have to create a perfect video, and maybe just try thinking about how can I create a real video that just shows who I am and shows that I care and I love the people I serve, and that also is in some way helpful to the community. And helpful can be informative, or it could be a little bit humorous, or it could be entertaining to kids. There's lots of different ways things can be helpful, but try to remove the pressure from yourself here tonight.
Love it. Good way to start off. And this is another really good way to start off. Brad, do you want to explain this?
Yeah, so if everyone was given $10, Monopoly dollars here, and you got to pick your quarantine team, who would you draft? And obviously you could spend a lot of money on the top row and then only have $2 left, or you could kind of pick some cartoons in between or stretch your money. But we're just really curious, and in the chat it would be fun to kind of hear that the who and the how and the why. I probably go back and forth. I think when my kids are around, Rosie's looking pretty good from the Jetsons, because who am I kidding? I'm probably part of the problem too. But then the Ratatouille, I love cooking. It's one of my passions, and I think it would be so fun to have another cook in the family. Not that cooking with my kids isn't fun, but to have like a professional in the house would be really cool. But I don't know where everyone else is at. I'd love to hear in the chat.
Kate,
I think we have a poll question too.
Yeah.
Before we get to the poll though, don't mean to put like Kate, Suzanne, and Rachel on the spot, but if you had to like put $10 on a character right now to take them off the board, where are you leaning?
I'm going to go into debt by $1. And so
Oh.
I'm going to pull out my Alaska card. So I'm going to go Miss Frizzle for $8. And then I'm going to go with Wonder Woman. So Miss Frizzle, I think, would rock it with virtual distance learning, great engaging activities, and then Wonder Woman just to keep it like producing and on track. So in debt by $1. Kate, what are you thinking?
I would also go with Miss Frizzle, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna see I'm over by $1 too. I'm like oh god, let's see. I'm gonna say Nemo because we just gotta keep swimming.
Ooh.
There you go. Nice.
We just gotta keep swimming, and I've stayed within the guidelines of $10.
Yeah, good job.
Excellent. Yeah, we gotta pretend this is like a school budget we're working with here.
I got
10 solid dollars.
So it looks like Suzanne from COSA said she would go with Miss Frizzle and Nemo too. Kimberly said Miss Frizzle all the way with Arnold as the sidekick. Awesome. And Susan also said, I think she said Miss Frizzle too as well. So
Corey, awesome. I think it was Corey said Fred and Barney, and there are times where I could go for Fred and Barney. Before this whole quarantine or stay-at-home thing happened in Minnesota, like we would play Hearts, the card game Hearts, with friends all the time. And so I'm having major friend Hearts withdrawal, and I wouldn't mind sitting across from Fred and Barney and taking them on in a game of Hearts.
I like it. Awesome. Well, let's hop into that poll. I believe that is next. Yep. All right. So who is your top cartoon draft pick? So if you just had to pick one, and some of you guys already talked about what it was in the chat box. So you get the option of just one now. So what are you thinking you're going to go with? I get to see the results live right now, and I got to tell you, Miss Frizzle's pulling ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Part
but
of
I
me
have
wants
some
to
others.
I want to click Optimus Prime just because it'd be cool, but I can't wrap my head around the utility of that. Like, I don't know what good that would do other than just to feel cool for a minute.
Yeah, we do have some Optimus Prime folks in the house, though. All right, fantastic. Well, it looks like, I'm going to hit end polling. It looks like Miss Frizzle ended with 43%, and then for the second place, we have other for 22%. So we have some creative folks out there. So kind of shifting gears.
All right, Family Feud. Anyone play the game or watch on TV?
My favorite. That's on my bucket list. I want to be on Family Feud. I just have to convince my family to go on Family Feud with me.
That would be a
I would be
blast.
all there. Maybe
we might have to adopt each other because I would love to go, but I don't think my family would. I would be too obnoxious because I get really into games. But Kate, today's your lucky day because we're going to play Family Feud here in Let's Talk. All right? Everyone, come on down. Oh, that's a different show, but it works, right?
Love it.
So we surveyed 100 principals. So I think we have the question up next.
Yeah.
And here's a question that was asked. What's the biggest barrier to creating school videos? Because we're actually here to talk about videos, not cartoons.
Cartoons
So
are
now is your chance on the poll just to let us know where you're at. Time, support, tech, money, just being self-conscious or lack of ideas.
What do you think? What are you voting for, Kate?
I'll just say technology. I mean, it is, you know, it's just having the confidence to and the time to learn the technology that you need in order to fulfill the video piece. How about you, Rach?
Self-conscious. I don't know what it is, but I get nervous about listening to myself with podcasts after they've been recorded or watching myself. And I don't know why I'm nitpicky, but I get really nervous. So
and I would say in this day and age, it's the grow out since I haven't had my hair done since January. So
you can't tell. You can't tell. it's looking great. So
I'm with you on that, Kate. On Zoom, and my hair does not look as obnoxious, but in the mirror here, it's like, wow, there's a good 2 months growth there.
We are right there with you for sure. We've grown a couple inches. So it looks like the biggest barrier to creating school videos happens to be the tech aspect. That's 29, and it tied with self-conscious with 29 as well, and ideas for 25.
And when I quickly look at this, not to do like a data dive on a 10-second survey, but it seems like there are 4 themes that really are emerged with kind of equal respondents, which tells me that there are lots of significant reasons, or at least 4 big ones that slow people down on that. It's just interesting.
That is.
Probably, if we're being honest, some of us have more than one. Like I put time as one. Like I know what I want it to look like or do. I don't just have the time to get it to that point. So, but also I have the self-conscious thing, lots of different things going on. So doing videos can be hard, and sometimes it's mental gymnastics that we're doing. I was having a conversation with some educators in California, and we're doing some analogy work just to kind of lean into the topic, and they were just choosing a picture or to connect to what it's like to be an educator. And there was a woman, I'll never forget this. She spoke up, and you could have heard a pin drop as she was saying, you know, sometimes being a teacher feels like going the wrong way up an escalator with the steps or the treads crashing down. And she said it kind of with a quiver in her voice. And I had one of those principal moments of like deep self-reflection. Like sometimes I think we are the ones who make it hard for teachers. And I know we don't try. I think we all are doing the best we can. We want to set them up for success, but maybe it's us moving things along or just trying to lead change and things like that. But this happens to be a situation with our own learning and this pandemic that we're in, that it can feel like, for us too, and for teachers too, but for us, it can feel like going up an escalator, partly because we don't have a roadmap for this, partly because it's an emotional time for staff and kids, partly because we're leaning into new skills. Like I think a lot of us are pretty comfortable having a one-on-one conversation with a teacher or being in a staff meeting or a PLC and having that camaraderie, but it's really hard to try to do this, like what we're doing right now. Like, how do you realize connectedness, which is like a priceless thing to have in life, to have where Rachel or Kate are talking and I can feel it here. I feel it here. I'm thinking, I'm with them. That's a really, really hard thing. And that's why we're going to talk about video, because video is not some superficial, mystified thing. It really can boil down to, for principals, like connectedness, either maintaining a relationship that's already in place or trying to forge and invest and cultivate new relationships with people who maybe weren't dialed in yet or before, but now that video is kind of one of the only options, it can help with that. And that's, like I said, that's a really big deal. Hopefully this convo, when you leave here tonight, kind of here's our promise is a strong word, but here's our hope for you. It's that we flip the switch on the escalator and maybe it feels, as far as video is concerned, like you're going with the stairs in the right direction a little bit and you feel really, really supported. So to kind of kick things off, and feel free, Rachel and Kate, to like push back and give me like, yeah, but what about this? And, or if you want me to say more about something because it's confusing. But I'm just going to cruise through 6 tips, and then we have some examples and some images and stuff like that. But just to elevate your video work just at a really beginner level, just some really quick things. The difference between having a tripod and not is immense. So if you're doing a school video, it's one thing, you can hold it, but it becomes distracting if you're just trying to hold it. Even if you have a really steady hand, it's hard. So get a tripod, or like honestly at work, I have wicker baskets, and sometimes I'll set my iPad on it and it just looks super goofy, but it's a way where I don't have to touch or hold my camera. So whatever you're gonna do, tripod, wicker basket. Right now, I'm gonna show you what I have going on. I have you can even see there's my Pepsi and my water, but this box of LED lights from Costco, that's my tripod. Okay, makes sense.
Mine's on a wicker basket right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
My tripod. It's it's a kid prize. It's a stomp rocket.
I know. I saw that right away. It was very exciting. That's excellent. On the lit and loud, just a couple other video basics. Lighting is really important. So you want to not have a huge light behind you, because then, have you ever been on meetings and you'll see a person who's very dark and silhouetted? It's not that that's bad. It's just harder to connect with the person. When you can see their front lit, you can pick up on things and you just feel a little bit more of a connection. It might seem like I'm breaking my own rule. I have a window behind me. Ordinarily, that would create a horrible effect, but it just so happens that I have a window on the other side of me. That's why I don't look like a silhouette right now. So anyway, the loud part, when you're doing videos, here's what I've noticed over time. You almost have to talk like 10% louder, and maybe even be 10% a teeny bit more animated than you might be if you were talking to a friend or your colleagues or your school community in person. So if Rachel and I were like talking at NAESP, I would tone it down just a teeny bit. Otherwise, I'd probably scare her. But on video, it is like you kind of have to talk yourself into it, and it creates a teeny bit more of an engaging effect. It's not that you're not being authentic, you are, but you're just working a little bit harder at making sure they can feel you and for sure hear you. Okay?
I've noticed on my videos that my facial expressions are almost more exaggerated, like my eyebrows and my smile and such, or like, I don't know. So that's interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah, there are a couple of weird things that happen, and this falls under the category that like 25 or 29% of us worry about most on videos, the self-conscious thing. But sometimes when I'm recording a school video, I'll rewatch it, and I have this weird where it's like I'm talking out of half of my mouth, and I don't know if I'm subconsciously nervous, but I'm like, I do not talk like that. Why am I doing that on the video? And then I'll try to record. And there are some tricks that we'll get to that can just help you feel more at ease. But I'm going to go to number 3 now. Less is more. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll script ahead of time on videos, like the 5 things I want to get across, but really people only need and want 2 things, 3 tops. So if your video is 2 minutes or less, like home run, way to go. If it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes or like 10 or 15 minutes, if you were to check the YouTube metrics, probably most people are tuning out it's sad, a lot sooner than we think or hope as principals that they would be. So anything less than 2 minutes, I would say, is you're doing a really great job, and there's a great chance that people are going to be with you the whole time. Good news for us is it takes less planning to convey a 2-minute video, because really you're doing some type of intro or hook. You're saying 1 or 2 things, and then you're out. And we can do that, and we can memorize that, so to speak. You can kind of remember 1 or 2 talking points as opposed to 10 or 20 that people wouldn't remember. Did you say Kimberly is here? Rachel, so you might remember this acronym from the book talk session at NAESP, the conference, but I'll share a graphic that will help kind of imprint this on your memories later. But basically, I always talk about bringing the heat as a trick, and I can remember 4 things. So the heat is start with a hook of some kind. Could be a quote, a powerful quote to hook people in. Let me say what not to do. This is a better way. Most videos you'll see, people start by introducing themselves. It's natural. It's just what we think we should do. Like, hey, I'm Brad Gustafson, principal at Greenwood Elementary. But that's not the best way to start a video. It's always best to start with a sentence before that, something very powerful. Then you can throw in who you are if you feel you need to do that. So another example of a hook, it could be a prop. This was not planned. It's not a very good one, but so I have this tripod next to me for some other stuff. I could have started just by having this in my hand. It immediately captures your attention. It creates like a wonderment, a mystery. I tie it into my message, which clearly a tripod I could have used in the beginning of this, and then I introduce myself. But it's more like you could start with a question like, how many principals have one of these at their desk? Hi, I'm Brad Gustafson, principal at Greenwood Elementary, and we're going to talk the power of video and tripods. I mean, it's just a little nuanced thing that's different than starting with who you are. So that's the H part. We'll get to the E, the A, and the T. This is called a teaser, right? We'll get to the E, the rest of heats later on in our time together. I just want to cruise through these. On number 5, as a quick tip and trick, like try different things. You'll see people all over online, principals, entertainers, other people trying new things. And it's really interesting and it's fun and it's catchy. And it'll stretch you to try what you're seeing them do, but don't try to be them, because I don't know about you. Sometimes I'll see like a friend of mine, Joe Sanfilippo, he does his 1 minute walk to work videos. If you've seen those on Facebook and Twitter, and he's incredible. He's authentic, he's funny, he's smart. But I guarantee you, if I walked to work and tried to record it, it wouldn't be nearly as entertaining or powerful, because that's just not quite who I am. I could try it and learn some things, but it probably wouldn't be where I would settle in. On the do you part, the reason we want to try to be ourselves on video instead of just trying to like hit other people's bar is because that's something that we could develop a cadence in our work and go back to each week. In my career, I'm in my 12th year as a principal, 10th year at Greenwood. We've done tons of video work as a team, and myself too. And I know there was a period where I strayed away from it just a little bit, and even to the point where our district communications team, one of the guys said, "Hey, Brad, would you be interested in trying this approach?" And he just had this concept of from the desk of Dr. G videos. And I'm like, yes, I would, because it's authentic, it's low prep, and it was something that was like not a big time commitment. So it allowed me to get in the habit of doing it. And that segues into number 6, the commit. Doing one video is cool, and you'll probably get pretty good feedback from people like, hey, thanks for doing that. But when you show up week after week and maybe have a video supplement your principal newsletter or email or whatever communication, or maybe even record with kids and supplant what you're usually doing with a 2-minute video, having that weekly discipline over the course of a year, you would be shocked at not just the information you're able to share, but the relationship and connectedness, not just with the audience and people that are learning about your school, but with the kids who help co-create the content with you. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that it opens up when we're in those waters frequently and regularly enough. I'm taking a breath here, Rachel and Kate. What are you wondering? What are you thinking? What am I missing?
I'm gonna go back to the other slide so I can think. Kate, what's coming to mind for you?
Well, I'm just wondering, did you cover the EAT on the heat?
Ooh, my teaser worked, Kate, because I have a whole slide later where we're going to go into heat, and it's almost like we planned this. We didn't, I promise, but that's the biggest thing I'm kind of hoping that people take away. It's a framework that, like, you'll forget all these slides, you'll forget me, but I think you can remember heat, and it will elevate and give you confidence to start your video work. So I promise that we will get there.
I love it. I'd say just jump in.
So the intentionality and purposing, we'll talk about hooks later, and we'll talk about some other kind of tips and tricks and actual tools to use. But one of the biggest hooks is authenticity. It's like just us authentically showing up to engage our people and the people we care about and the people we're serving. The other thing here, and this is a really big one, like, I don't feel I would be the instructional or technology leader that I am if I weren't wading in these waters, failing, trying, learning new things, going deeper into certain tools. And it's actually helped. So in addition to the communication, connection, relationships that video can help establish, it will help us in our instructional leadership, because then when we're in classrooms and they're creating, or if we don't have a culture where kids are podcasting or creating video to show they're learning yet, by us assuming that mantle and leading, then it can show up in staff meetings and PD. We can work alongside people. We can invite teachers into that process. We can help in classroom. All of those things can happen when we start to model it instead of just mandating it. So I just wanted to share a quick example that's really relevant to the distance learning stuff that a lot of us are doing right now with COVID-19. So we were racking our brains at school, like, how do we end the school year in a motivating way to kids that it's like a carrot at the end of this journey that's been hard for them. It's monotonous for a lot of the kids these final weeks. So our team came up with this virtual academy concept. So the last 3 days of school, the kids don't even know this yet, but we're opening up. We have like 40 plus submissions, and it's growing. It's teachers in our school have created these quick classes. So the final 3 days, kids might choose 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. It could be former teachers they had. If they're a 5th grader, they could go back a few years to memorable teachers. select those classes and just try them. And they range from short exercising, you know, go on an exercise with so-and-so, or learn how to rock paint with so-and-so, learn how to do a trick shot, dude perfect video with this teacher, all these things. But I'm just self-reflecting now. I wouldn't have been able to be a part of that or support our team to the extent that I have been able to if I hadn't been like practicing and failing forward with video for a while. And now here we are where the teachers have created this incredible culture where like the expectation of using video to connect with kids and give them choices and personalize their learning, it's just there because we built it together. And we, you know, it wasn't easy at first, but we've all committed to like trying this stuff. So I'm really proud of our team for coming up with this idea and being able to actually create videos. I was going to share a quick story. So this is my virtual, like screenshots from my virtual academy submission. And I did how to paint rocks. And so I have this fancy intro, and I'll teach everyone how to do that in just a second. So I do this video, it's like 10 or 11 minutes long because it's actually kind of a class, and I use that term loosely. But at the beginning, I use a hook, and I tell the kids, like, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a dinosaur footprint rock that I painted. Because I thought the rock was actually shaped like, it was really cool. It was shaped like a dinosaur print. I was impressed. And I mentioned the hook like every 2 minutes in the video. Well, my daughter's upstairs just quietly doing her schoolwork, listening. And she said, she knew I wasn't recording anymore. She's like, Dad, can I say something? I'm like, sure. She goes, it seems like you're really overselling the dinosaur footprint. And I laughed. It was so funny because only from a middle schooler, right? Just to give it to me straight. So I called her on video and I said, say what you said. And she's that's Hope. And she repeated it. So she's actually in my virtual academy class. But the whole point is by being intentional with video and us wading in the waters and just authentically showing up, not perfect, but just showing up and trying and creating something, you just never know what'll happen in your school when you're leading the way and serving alongside people and learning with them. It's just a really cool thing that I'm pretty proud of our team for.
Oh, I love it. And, you know, that was super inspiring, just watching teachers go into distance learning mode and having to do recordings, because that was not comfortable for them. And that was one of the motivating factors of me wanting to jump in. It was kind of a punch in the face. You know, if teachers are having to be live and record and I'm too chicken to get in front of a screen, like I better check myself. I'm normally side by side. How can I catch up and take risks like they are?
Yeah, crawl into those trenches with them.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's just it, Rachel. And then as we're trying this, then when we're doing observations, hopefully when school starts face-to-face someday soon, right? We'll be in a position eventually to be able to say, hey, have you tried this? Like when we're watching a kiddo complete a worksheet to show their learning, we might be able to have that conversation and support the teacher and just say, I noticed you did this and the kids responded this way and that was really cool. And have you ever thought of this? Or like, here's something I struggle with as a school leader and principal. You go into these classes and you feel humbled just to be in the room because the teachers are so ridiculously good. It's like, what value can I possibly add to this educator? Like, other than just write down, keep doing what you're doing because you're awesome. Like, that's not super effective. But like, they will listen. Like you can say, you know, hey, I noticed you're doing this. Let's talk a little bit about pedagogy and the possibility of video or student empowerment and how kiddos might be, it's just a different conversation. And it makes me feel good that I can actually maybe add just a teeny little bit of light in addition to you're amazing, right? It's just a cool thing that you wouldn't be able to do. We wouldn't be able to do if we weren't actually trying it ourselves and somewhat aware. So I'd love to give people a few tangible tools that they could try and start. I use a bunch of different tools, so I'm not advocating or putting a stamp of approval on anyone. This is probably one. TouchCast is probably the one I use the most, though. So basically, we have 3 screenshots there. The one on the very left is you sign up for a free TouchCast account. Yes, you have to put your email and stuff, but you get access to this thing called the TouchCast Studio. So what you do is you get to pick. You could have green screen background. You could annotate video where you're actually showing a video and you're in a teeny little corner of it in a little box, or you could do newscaster style. There's just lots of different choices. I usually pick start from scratch. I just do a basic video. I usually don't get too fancy. So then I go to the middle screen. once I'm doing a video or a project from scratch, that's the basic TouchCast Studio interface that you'll see. And how I started TouchCast, and the beauty, let me tell you why I love TouchCast. Your videos can look like professional newscaster quality with very little effort. And I know a lot of principals, we want our communications to look like, we want our school and community to be proud of them, but we don't have a lot of time to figure it out or go to all these fancy apps. TouchCast is very, very usable. So you hit the red button on the very bottom and it goes 3, 2, 1, and then it's recording. Nothing fancy at all. But over time, they have V apps and all those fancy buttons. And what I just did is each week I would just look and try something new. So you'll see it's really small right now. Sorry about that. But title bar, you hit that, it gives you a title bar, and lots of choices too. And it's aesthetically pleasing, looks cool. Or V apps, that's the coolest part. V apps are lots of fancy tools. The one that I would suggest starting with is just the photo. So you go into V apps in the lower right, you choose photo, and then you can pick any photo from your camera roll, and it'll appear in the corner, and you can resize it. It'll appear in the corner of your principal message or video, or if it's a teacher using it, kids could be talking about their show and tell or a science experiment or art, their design process in art, while people are looking at the project, or while people are looking at your school or whatever you want to talk about, while they're looking at your lost and found and you're begging and pleading that people come and get their mittens or stuff, right? So that's why I love the interface of it. You can do so much and get so much deeper into it, but you don't have to. It's as simple as recording. And then the final one that we might be covering up on your screen is just exporting it. What I love about TouchCast is you can go right to YouTube and get a shareable link for families, or you can export it to your camera roll, like on your iPad, for example, where you can putz with it a little more in iMovie and do other things to it. Super versatile, but really, if you're a beginner on video, super user-friendly. And I'm here, and there's a ton of people in this world that would be willing to help. So if you just call or email or hit me up on Twitter, I think I put my Twitter handle as my name on this video, just so you have it. It's @GustafsonBrad. I'm more than happy to hop on a phone call or talk you through, like, hey, Brad, I tried this out. I'd love to try to help. Okay.
I'm curious, do you record on your phone or your computer?
I usually do. I do an iPad, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Brad as we just pause for a second? You can either put them in the chat box or just unmute yourself.
Thanks for doing that, Kate. Sometimes I need people to remind me to take a breath.
Me too.
No.
See, that's what happens. I promised people we'd unpack the heat analogy, and in my back of my mind, I'm like, we got to get to the heat. So.
I got a quick question. So you use your iPad, but you just record yourself. I mean, you just set up your iPad and then you don't have anybody recording or anything? I believe that's what you were saying.
Yeah, correct. You hit the nail on the head, Kurt. So my iPad, I also bought a keyboard so I can take it to meetings and take notes. But the keyboard, sorry, I'm using my hands a lot. It has one of those flippers. So I have my keyboard here, my iPad here, but it serves as a tripod. So I can no one needs to hold it for me. In TouchCast, you can easily hit a button to turn the camera on you so you can see what you're recording. And oftentimes I'll just pull in kids and we'll create stuff together. And they get a kick out of seeing it. There's a green screen feature on TouchCast that lets you do really crazy. I'll show you a couple samples of that. On FlixPress, a lot of these are animated intro outros, so it's like 10-second beginnings to your video. So if you want to have a really cool, engaging way to start your videos and use the same one every week, you pay $1 or $2 with FlixPress, and then you can use it to the end of time because it'll be on your camera roll. So we have our Greenwood one that I use a lot. So what I do to start my videos often is I have a From the Desk of Dr. G. I actually have a kiddo, a kindergartner's voice reading From the Desk of Dr. G, and my heart melts every time I hear it. People see the fancy animated stuff. It's quick, and then it gets to the content, and it just lends a teeny bit of credibility and professionalism to the content. And God knows I need all the help in that area I can get. So FlixPress is the thing to try. I think they even have some free templates too, if I'm not mistaken.
That's good. So Pamela was wondering, what is the safest way to share a video on YouTube?
Yep, it kind of depends what your district's policies are. We know who we can film in our school and things like that. So I do the open source to everyone video. Oftentimes I'll disable comments, just so not weird stuff. You know, sometimes YouTube comments aren't the most uplifting thing to read if you go on to other things. But if you're a little more locked down, you can do the unlisted link where you're just sending it to your families and just the people with the link can have it. So those
Great.
couple things.
And then Kimberly said that TouchCast would be a great way to do morning announcements. Thanks
Yep.
for sharing that, Kimberly.
Yeah, and there are some paid things. I have not paid TouchCast, so I don't do. I know they have some add-ons and stuff you can do. I'm just sharing mostly free stuff. So on the green screen, this is from TouchCast. A couple things, like voice is a big show and kids love creating. So believe it or not, that's just a green screen with the voice background and my black office chair. And the kids, we created public service announcements for something. I forget what we were trying to tell the community, but the kids would spin around. It was super engaging. They did a little bit of acting in line with voice judges, but they got their message across, and it looked ridiculously cool with like zero effort. And that was TouchCast. But there's Do Ink is another, I don't know if it's Do Ink or Doink, however you spell it, but other people tell me that's a good one. I haven't tried that one. Another green screen idea, like a hack or a cheat. I've seen people with professional sports backgrounds behind them or school mascots. It looks really cool. We just created our own on, I don't know if it was Publisher or I think I made that in Apple Keynote. Just our school hashtag and our mascot, if you can see that. And then I just repeat it in different shades. And I threw that behind me as my green, you know, instead of a awesome mountain, I just put our school background. So it looked like we're a pro team or something. And that happened to be a video where we were announcing to families our new, I think it was our either a recruiting teachers or a new hire video. We've done both, but instead of the newsletter thing where you say, we hired Ms. Johnson from St. Cloud State University, and parents they love that. Like even a sentence in a newsletter or an email. But when you have video and a kid is telling, like asking that new teacher questions or the new teacher is sharing books they're reading, it's like this whole different experience.
I like that. You know, what I've been digging lately is if you have an Apple device, and it's been kind of a workaround for the green screen, and if I didn't have my makeup or hair done, like quarantine hair, is on, and it just is downloaded automatically to your phone. It's Clips. And it has a lot of almost green screen backgrounds that you can use, or it puts you into like an animation mode, or it has filters like Instagram. So you can't tell that I didn't do my hair or makeup, and then you just film it right off your phone, and you can pair it with still shots, pictures, but it's been really slick. So that might be another fun one too for folks to check out.
Oh, thanks for sharing that, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
To piggyback on that, TouchCast has a bunch of filters you can use. I think there's a Minecraft filter where it pixelates you.
Ooh.
Obviously, you wouldn't use that every week, but you can see the applications. Like kids would think that would be cool for once. There's also a black and white mode. There's just so many different ones, but it's really cool to try different things. But I love the black and white thing because it simplifies the image and it actually has this powerful quality to it. So we've done that for quite a few beginning of the year messages.
Awesome.
So we better talk through this so the goofy pictures aren't on the screen and people think we're just crazy. Two, like one of the questions I hear a lot, and this helps people who are self-conscious, myself included, ChatterPix sounds like a cheesy app. It's where you take a picture of anything, like my Pepsi can. So I'm in ChatterPix, I take a picture, and the app lets you draw a line, and that turns into a mouth, and then you talk, it records your voice, and it looks like the Pepsi can is talking, okay? And you're wondering, well, why would I ever want to do that? Well, you probably wouldn't, but imagine if you had a book that was recommending itself, or a shy kiddo who had a lot to say but wasn't quite so sure about being on camera yet, or maybe even you wanting to recommend to your readers some picture books over the summer. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Or an art project talking about itself, like you take a picture of a kiddo's art and you model this for staff at a meeting, right? And then have them, there's just so many different things we can do, but ChatterPix is a really cool one that even people who are a little bit reticent to be on video, they're like, ooh, they're making connections for themselves or for kiddos who they're worried about being on video. And then Rachel talked about this at the very, very beginning. There's one that a colleague recommended to me called My Talking Pet. And this is the first thing I'm recommending tonight that I think it cost $1 or $2 or something like that. And it's where you take a picture of your dog or whatever pet you have, if you have a pet. And it crazily makes them, it's kind of like ChatterPix, it makes them look like they're talking and like moving too. It's really this strange effect. But instead of having that, so we did a school video with my talking pet. Instead of having that be the whole video, because that would be a lot of kind of extra, I was having a conversation with my dog, so it would break away to her. She'd say a little bit, or she'd mock me just a teeny bit, or make fun of me a little bit, and then I'd deliver the actual content, and then it would break away to her just for a teeny bit. So it was in small doses, but kids, it was just a very relatable video, and people like just a teeny bit of novelty sometimes. Anyone else have any cool recommendations for things we could try?
I love it.
Yeah, throw them in the chat box if you guys have any other good ones that you'd suggest. I know I did the animated one for kids one day. I was biting off every Monday for virtual announcements for kids, and I had forgotten, and it was late at night. So I just did the animation, and the kids ate it up. I found a bobcat that's like our little mascot, and they just went berserk. I thought they were going to kind of laugh at me, but they ate it up. It was so cute.
So awesome. Does anybody else have anything to add? Or do we just want to finish up our last 10 minutes with some more ideas from Brad?
He's a wealth of ideas. It's fantastic.
I'll have to check out Talker. Shelly shared Talker. Thanks, Shelly. So just a quick kind of reflective question, like what would school look like if we held innovation in the same high regard as like high stakes test scores? I can imagine that video, like ourselves taking risks and modeling that, but ultimately like everything goes back to kids. Who do we want to empower them to be as creators, not just content consumers? I think that would be a big part of it. And the beautiful thing about video is it's not either or. It's not achieve at a high level or create video. Like video can be evidence of that higher achievement. And oftentimes it's much more motivating to kiddos. So I just challenge us to keep coming back to, like, sometimes people will visit our school and they'll look at mobile maker spaces or some of the other cool stuff teachers have started at our school, and they'll ask, and to be honest with you, they're usually asking not for themselves, but because they know they're going to have to go back and talk to their principal. It's like, what about student achievement, or how does this maker space or whatever it is, how does that help? And the thing that we try to like encourage them is like, that's a great question, but can we also ask, like, how is this cultivating student creativity? Like, instead of like only always asking about just achievement, how about just even adding a second question and maybe even leading with that second question every once in a while? And I think that's part of what video can do. Like, it can help motivate kids who are maybe feeling disenfranchised, disinterested. Maybe they're dreaming about being a YouTuber outside of school, but at school, there's like zero connection or hope of that because video is non-existent. Like, there's a place for those kids in this world, and school can help them develop the skills to be really good at what they want to do and what they're watching at home, and move them from just consuming it. So I think the heat's coming up. I hope the heat's coming up here.
It is time for the heat.
All right, Kate, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Here's what I'll say. This was developed for book talking, but the more that I've used it, I've realized the acronym transcends books and literacy. It's really for any content a principal or maybe even a human being is generating, okay? So if you're not into making literacy book talks or things like that, that's okay. Picture your morning message with some of these steps. Picture an assembly or a flipped PD meeting. If you're gonna send like a 1 or 2 minute video to staff to wet their whistle for like exciting content or a meeting that's coming up. Like, these are the things that we should be thinking about, and that can be really helpful. So the hook is, it could be any number of things, but starting with a surprising fact, asking a question, like just something honest, like, have you ever wondered blah? And then lead into like your main topic. The energy thing, I think, is probably one of the most important things, because people like mirror your energy. If you're not excited about what you're talking about or passionate about, it doesn't have to be like animated energy. It can just be like a heartfelt, like if they're not feeling your whatever tingles or your heart pumping a little bit about it, the connection won't be as strong. But if they know you actually care about it, like when you're a meeting and someone cares about what they're talking about, even if it's like what kind of coffee is being offered, like somehow even if you don't drink coffee, you care about the person and you're like, hey, that's kind of cool. Kate's really into that kind of coffee, right? That's just how it works. It's the same with video. So as I said earlier, the E stands for energy, and just being mindful that sometimes we have to amp it up like 10% more is just a arbitrary number I made up, but just a teeny bit more than if you were just talking in person. Part of that is also sound. Even if you're using a good microphone, generally, and for kids, I almost have to tell them to yell. Like when I work with them in my office, like say it super, let's pretend we're at recess and just say it loud and proud. Otherwise you can't hear them. And it's really hard for people to endure a video they can't hear. Audience is just thinking, so this is the A in heat, is thinking about who is watching your video and why they care. And if we lean into something that they're trying to tackle or wonder about, or if we think more about helping them as opposed to how we're coming across, I'll say that again. Like if we worry more about how we're going to help our people and the audience and connecting to them as opposed to how we look, it's always a victory and a win, because they'll sense that. They know that they're seen and heard. One trick for that is like asking parents, what are you wondering about? What's unclear? In the next principal video, or it works for email too, but like, what would you like me to address? And then you're able to talk to that, or at least intertwine that, and you just automatically connect your audience a little more. And then time is the last one. We talked a little bit about that, the T and heat, but like the magic 2-minute mark, yeah, you can go over it, but I think I'd rather have people begging and wishing your video was a minute longer than tuning out halfway through it. The trick, like for that I need to do better at, but I just know it's super effective, have your ending planned. That, like, people always get their hook plan, they know how they're going to start, but then they have a tendency to ramble because they don't know how to end it. If you have a powerful ending and it's connected back to your hook, like I could end like this.
Rocks.
What's that?
Rocks.
If you end like connected your hook and skin, and just even if you're just holding it again, there's like this continuity and credibility, and it's like, thanks for joining in, and remember, you know, just some little thing that connects back, but just know how you're going to end. That will actually help you stay on time. So I do want to share just a URL. If you look at the bottom of that Book Talk Heat graphic there, there's a URL. It's well, you can see it right there, .com/booktalkheat, H-E-A-T. It walks you through, I think in 3 minutes. It's actually a really good teaching tool that you could use for yourself and share with teachers and students. So I'd highly recommend that as kind of a takeaway. If you want to have a viewing party.
Okay. Hey friends, we've just had 3 more minutes. So we just want to wrap it up and honor everybody's time so that they can get to their evening. But what else do you have for us, Brad, before we have to
skip
close?
this? Yeah, we'll skip that slide. And 30-second book topic, if you want to go to the next slide too, Rachel, there's this thing out there, and it relates to the call to action, but we've done it with books, Jen Lagarde and myself. But the call to action for you all is we'd love to invite you, encourage you, challenge you to try, after this conversation, creating a 30-second video. It could be a message to your community. It could be wrapping up the school year. It could just be reflecting on your learning, something you're looking forward to over the summer, just whatever your topic is. Just short and sweet, just to like carry the momentum and start to build some traction in this area, and then tag me and any of your other colleagues from your state organization, so we can lift each other up and share and give positive feedback and kind of build a network to support one another.
I love that.
Yeah.
So here's
That's
your
my
call
Twitter
to
handle if you
action.
want to tag me. I do have some of the content tonight. It's actually been like a combo. If you want to go to the next slide, or the last slide, I should say. It's like a combo from both the books that were mentioned, Renegade Leadership and Reclaim Our Calling. But for free, you can go to that URL and just check out. This is just a heartfelt read that I think is more relevant now than ever. It's just like, how do we hold on to the heart, the mind, and the hope in education? And I think that shares like the first two, I don't know how much it shares, a nice chunk of the beginning of the book if you're interested and want your bucket filled now or into the summer. And that was just like a little mini thank you. So. And
it's a really, really inspiring book. I think Kimberly did a book study with you and with some of her staff too. It's phenomenal. So definitely check that out.
Cool. The teeny 10-second thing I'll say about the book is we had one of our former students at Greenwood wrote the foreword to it, and he's incredible. His mom said a little bit in the beginning. It's one of my favorite parts about the book because it's kind of like the heartbeat of education in our school as a kid. So to have a kiddo kick it off.
Oh man, that gives you goosebumps. That's awesome.
Well, thank you, Brad, so much for sharing your wisdom. We are just, I know I'm writing my notes furiously and going to really try between the now and the end of the year to incorporate some of your ideas. And just thank you so much for taking your precious time and sharing our wisdom.
Thank you,
So
Brad.
looking ahead to next week, we have a very dynamic and inspiring principal that will be joining us. Her name is Jessica Cabine, and excuse me, she is a practicing principal. She's an author, motivational speaker, all around amazing lady. Sorry.
I'll take over for Kate. Jess is incredible. She knows her stuff. She leads with heart. She wrote a book on balance, leading with grace. She is the real deal.
She's phenomenal. And you guys might be familiar with her. She was at our early learning conference a couple years ago, and she recently at the statewide in-service was out in Pendleton. So she's a familiar face and common name for you guys. And ironically, from the same state that Brad is. So
Go Minnesota.
Yeah, you guys have some great educators and leaders. So we hope to see you again next week. And that's kind of our wrap up. And as always, Kate and I are here for you. If you have any questions, any follow-up, Brad's available. If you'd like to connect with him to follow up on any of those fantastic ideas that he shared. But we appreciate you guys. This will be continuing into the future, probably on a monthly basis. But next week is our last one as we roll into summer. So thank you, you guys. You guys are fantastic. Keep being the incredible leaders that you are. And we're getting on that home stretch. So we know you guys can do it in the next couple weeks. You got this.
Yep.
Have a great time.
Yeah, but we just so appreciate you being here. Hang in there, friends. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. And another huge thank you to Brad. So
Yes.
appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Yay.
Thanks, everyone.